The past few weeks, we've been talking about things that grow our faith, things that make us go from a faith that's something counterfeit, a fake copy, to something that's real and personal to us. We've been talking about our faith and how it can shift from being an imitation of someone else's to being something that we own ourselves. Maybe more than anything else, turning points in life do just that. Chances are you've had a few turning points in life already. These are moments that turn our lives around and set us in a direction that we weren't going before. Sometimes they can be positive or even neutral things. You got a part-time job after school. You made varsity. Your mom got remarried. Other times, they can be more negative turning points. Like my best friend just moved to another state. My dad lost his job, and then we lost our house. My aunt has cancer. My mom left us and my dad wasn't sure what to do. I tore my ACL the first game of the season. Some of my closest friends have quit being my friends. These are just examples, but think about a turning point that you've experienced in your life right now. Just take a moment. One of the best illustrations of turning points that change someone's faith come from the life of Jesus. It's described by one of his friends, John, who wrote it all down, and John wrote this. These three, Lazarus, Mary, and Martha, weren't just random people that Jesus stumbled upon. They were close friends with Jesus. So after Lazarus got sick, Mary and Martha reached out, and this is what happened. They sent a messenger to find Jesus, who was 2, 3, even 4 days away by travel on foot, and their message said this. In other words, they didn't even have to say his name. They knew that Jesus would automatically know who they were talking about. Mary and Martha knew that Jesus had healed many people, even strangers. So of course, when Lazarus became sick with a life-threatening illness, they called upon Jesus to show up. But things didn't go exactly as they expected. Jesus didn't arrive at their house in a few days, and by the time that he did get there, Lazarus had already died. This was the worst kind of turning point that you can imagine. So you can imagine how Mary and Martha were feeling when Jesus shows up at their house, and Martha leaves her house and goes to meet Jesus as he approaches. And this is what happened. Imagine being in Martha's position. She has lost her brother. She's angry, she's sad, she's wondering why Jesus hadn't been there when she needed him to be. But even after saying all of that, she says something that communicates her trust in who Jesus was. That's what turning points do for us. They sharpen our focus. They get our attention. They force us to ask questions. What do we really think God is like? When things fall apart, when things don't go as planned, when things take a turn, what do I believe about God? Martha, on the worst day of her life and the worst pain that she had known, experienced Jesus being present with her. And then Jesus responded like this. Martha believed. She trusted in Jesus even though her brother died. Jesus didn't show up on time to save her brother, but her trust in Jesus was still very real. John tells us that after this happened. In that moment, Jesus felt exactly what we feel when we mourn and our hopes are shattered. Jesus gets our pain. John telling us Jesus wept is not just a fun detail. It's a sign that we are never alone in a hurt. As bad as things get, Jesus is in it with us. He experiences it alongside us. When a turning point gets our attention, we will always find Jesus in the middle of it with us. At the hardest part of the story, when hope seems all lost, He's there. And then Jesus does something crazy. He asks Mary and Martha if they have their servants remove the stone so that he can go into Lazarus' grave. At this point, he had been dead for days. But it can't be pretty in there. It's got to smell pretty bad. But Jesus asked them to move the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you would always hear me. But I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." When he said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with straps of linen and a cloth around his face. Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, and the story ends like this. It would be easy to read this story and think the point is a happy ending. Lazarus came back, the end. And it would be tempting to think that maybe that's what Jesus will do in all of our turning points. Maybe that's what makes a real faith, when Jesus shows up and makes the impossible possible. But we've all had moments where we waited and we prayed and we hoped and we begged for God to do something, and he didn't. So what then? What does that mean for our faith? That's when we remember what Jesus did before he raised Lazarus from the dead. He wept. He is with Mary and Martha and their pain alongside them before the miracle, before the resurrection, before anyone had any idea of a happy ending. He was there on their worst day, and he was there when the worst day became the best day and Lazarus raised from the dead. The same is true for us. No matter what kind of turning point we're facing, Jesus is with us. If things get better or get worse, Jesus is there. And that helps us realize that he's always there for us. That makes for a real faith, not a counterfeit one. Our pain doesn't have to be the end of the story. It can be part of the story, but not the point. It can get our attention, but it doesn't have to destroy our faith. It can even move us closer to God. In fact, that's exactly what this story also shows us. It's possible for our faith to grow, for God to seem more real than ever to us, for us to see God more clearly in our painful turning points. It's possible to go through the toughest pain possible and come through it trusting God even more. Not because God made it go away, but because God used it to stretch and grow and make our faith feel more real and personal. And when that happens, people around us will see God in a bigger way. Just like the people who surrounded Mary and Martha, it will make God more obvious to them. They will see that your faith is authentic, not counterfeit. And as a result, maybe they'll choose to trust God more. The truth is, you're going to hit turning points in life. You've probably already hit a few, and you'll likely experience a few more. And every time you do, you'll be tempted to lean away from God, to wonder where is God, or if God even cares. You may be tempted to think that maybe your faith is counterfeit because things didn't turn out the way that you wanted. But the story of Martha and Mary and Lazarus tells us no matter what we're facing, the worst day or the best day, Jesus is there. And when we believe that and experience that, it grows our faith. In fact, it makes your faith even more authentic than ever. It may not feel like that when you are in the middle of it. It may feel like the opposite. But a turning point doesn't last forever. And it's possible that when you come out the other side, you'll have a greater faith than you could ever possibly imagined. Even more than you could have wished for. Your story of how Jesus was with you, even when it was difficult, even when it felt like the opposite, could be the thing that inspires someone around you. So when you're facing a turning point, ask yourself these questions. Where's God in this? Maybe it feels like nowhere because things are difficult and not getting better. Try looking closer. Maybe God is in the friend who texted you out of the blue to see how you're doing. Maybe God is the encouragement from your coach or a group leader. Maybe God is the world outside your front door that slowed down for just a moment for you to notice on a walk, because God's always there. How can this tough situation help my faith grow? Remember, this turning point isn't forever, and when it's done, it's possible that you can look back and see how your faith became more real. Maybe not yet, maybe not right now, but eventually, even the hardest things can become things that cause growth, because God can use turning points to grow our faith. The truth is, nobody signs up for tough times. I want you to know that even on days that faith doesn't feel real, if you stay close and choose to hold on, you'll find that God stays close as well. God can use your tough times, as painful as they are, to make your faith more real, so that the next time you face a difficult situation, you're even stronger and even more surreal, and you can embrace God in that moment. Remember, God uses turning points to grow our faith.